the mission of Harvard Business School is to educate and develop leaders who will make a substantial difference to society. Harvard Business School has determined that now for people to lead in today's globalized world, that leaders must have an understanding of the world, of other parts of the world outside of the United States, which is the country from which the business school emerged. And an important part of that world is Africa. And therefore, these students selected a course on Africa as part of their MBA degree. In the very first semester, we had a number of classes where we looked at the major international trends and how those trends affected Africa. Globalization, the energy prices, what has happened to the dollar, COVID, and the impact that that has had to many African countries. In the second part of the course, these students had to come to one African country and learn and study what impact have these international forces made on a particular country and on particular companies. So for the last 2 weeks, they have been attached to 12 companies in Ghana to study the impacts on those companies and to try to find solutions to those problems. Mr. President, we are here to learn from you, to gain a better understanding so that they can become better and greater leaders in the future. We look forward to hearing your words of wisdom. We look forward to asking you some questions and listening to your answers, but it is with great pride and complete confidence that I present to you the greatest business school in the world and the greatest class in that business school, Harvard Business School, class of 2023. Thank you.
You're all very, very welcome to the seat of the presidency of our country, to Jubilee House.
Thank you, Mr. President, for having us. It's a great honor and privilege to be here. I'm Vasilis Morto from Greece. You already highlighted the challenges that the world and Ghana and Africa in general has been facing over the past 12 months. Supply chain issues, COVID, Ukraine, Russia, devaluation of currency, inflation, and so on. You also mentioned that some car manufacturers are considering the option of entering Ghana and doing business here. So I guess I'm wondering how difficult it has been over the past 12 months to attract foreign investments, and also what are your plans and next steps in terms of agenda for doing so? Thank you.
The issue of foreign investment is a persistent theme of the economic management that we are committed to and that we are seeing around the continent. Unfortunately, the level of savings in our economy is not such that we can finance easily our own development. And in Ghana, particularly, it has been very low. Tax GDP ratio in the West African zone is somewhere around 18% of GDP. We in Ghana are at 14%. So already, even with our peers, you can see a deficit in our capacity to finance our own development. So it has meant that foreign borrowing, foreign investment has had to play a very big role in being able to mobilize the savings that you need for development and expansion. In the last 12 months, 18 months, it has been difficult, but not impossible. And I think largely because the fundamentals of the economy that were established during my first term are still playing out, and they are sufficiently interesting, despite the difficulties that the global economy has, for foreign investors to look seriously at Ghana. And we will continue to make the policy adaptations, the policy prescriptions that will keep that line of financing available to us.
Hi, Mr. President. I'm Margaret. I'm from the U.S. It's such an honor to be here, and this is definitely the highlight of my birthday today. Thank you. It's such a rare opportunity for us to, meet a head of state, and I'm really curious, what is the day in the life of the President of Ghana look like? And in particular, how do you think about allocating your time across the many national topics that demand your attention?
Wow. That's a very loaded question. Two or three things. First of all, and in fact, the two or three things I'm talking about are things that I had not prepared myself for. The number of people you have to meet every day. Until I came here, I'm a lawyer by profession and everything. And you come across quite a lot of people in that profession. But there's no preparation for the numbers of people that you have to meet on a daily basis here. And people coming for all kinds of reasons. Those who are coming for formal meetings, those who are coming to seek some favor from the president, those who have come from their villages and they want to go back and say, when I went to Accra, I saw the president. All of them make up for a very charged population of numbers that come through here. And of course, the official program of meetings, that too is very, very, very much a part of the daily calendar. You have several meetings a day on different aspects. And perhaps the most challenging is that at any one time, you have to have so many balls up in the air that you're following. You don't have this, which you can be, for instance, in the world of business or the professions, where at any one stage there's a particular project that is the focus of your attention. You can't here as a political leader. You have always to be prepared at the very least for the unexpected, the things that they had not foreseen or envisaged. I remember one time at school in England, a long time ago, when, I don't know whether any of you remember, that there was a British Prime Minister called Harold Macmillan. But he was asked one day, when he was Prime Minister, the very question that you are asking in some ways, what are the most challenging aspect of your job? And his answer was very simple. He said, events of which you're never a master. They come to you left side, right side, and you're having to respond and deal with it. But there are parts of it, though, which are rewarding, especially those who feel that they have been positively affected by the work that you're doing, for them to come and express that to you and give you examples of that. That I find particularly rewarding. But it's not easy, and you require quite a lot of stamina. I leave here usually at about 1 o'clock every morning. I arrive here between 9 and 10, and I stay through till I prefer that way because it's the nighttime when the traffic has subsided is when I'm able to really do some serious thinking and work. So it gives you an idea of a day in the life of the Ghanaian president. Yeah.
Much, Mr. President, for being here and for the time and hospitality. I have a two-part question. The first actually centers around the Year of Return, which, as you mentioned, was very successful in bringing the diaspora back to Africa and back to Ghana. I'm curious if you've been able to translate that touristic interest into any increases in easier access to capital or foreign investment in Ghanaian businesses. And the second part comes from the professor, and I've recently learned that your father was the Chief Justice and former president of Ghana, and would love to know that the impact that your father and mother had on you and your leadership styles today. Thank you.
I think that apart from the touristic and cultural intercourse that has come from the whole engagement with the diaspora, the institutions, the commercial and investment institutions that have to follow from that if that dialogue and intercourse is to be sustained, are being worked on as we speak. I can't say that it has been spectacular so far, but it is being worked on, and there are many parts of it which we're also actively trying to encourage. One of them, for instance, is transportation. You can't come from here. You can't come here from the Caribbean directly. You have to go to Europe before you come, or you have to go to North America before you come. That's something that is being worked on now. Because if that, for instance, is a hurdle that can be overcome, you can imagine how that would also facilitate business and commercial enterprise. That's it. There can be no doubt that the history of my parents and their involvement had a big impact on me. The family is very much involved in Ghana's independence struggle. Right from this high, I was aware of the work that my father and mother were doing, which brought streams of people to our house on a daily basis. And I remember being very excited by it and thinking to myself, whatever it is that my father is doing is obviously important for a lot of people. And hopefully when I grow up, I'll be able to do the same. At that time, I had no real idea what I was saying, but these were the impressions and the impact that made on me. So yes, it definitely has been a major influence on my life. Professor, I have to move on, so I'm going to beg leave for us to bring our dialogue to an end.
No African has asked the questions. I just beg of you, so that one African.
I see. Yes, certainly. What about the Western, the Ghanaian from? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay.
My name is Kenza Bouhajam from Morocco. Before I ask my question, I would like to express my deep gratitude to you on behalf of all of us Harvard Business School students for your hospitality, for giving us some of your very precious time. I also would like to say that over the past 2 weeks, we've greatly appreciated working with Ghanaian entrepreneurs, very bright Ghanaian entrepreneurs, and we can feel the energy of the vibrant private sector in Ghana. And I'm also personally happy to go back to Boston and confirm to all members of the Harvard Africa Business Association that the Ghanaian jollof is the superior jollof. So my question to you is, what do you see as your role and Ghana's role in promoting political and economic integration for all African countries? So what is your vision for Pan-Africanism from an economic and political perspective? Thank you.
I think that is one of the things that is most associated with Ghana, largely because of the work that our first president did at the very beginning of the independence struggle. It was extremely strident and insistent on the idea of the continent, the new nations of Africa coming together. He was educated in America in the 1930s. So I think that the success of the United States, however you look at it, was something that made a deep impression on him. And therefore was one of the handful of leaders who at the very beginning of freedom was very insistent that we need to come together. We need to found the continental organization that would allow us to operate together as a single unit. He was very instrumental in the founding of the Organization of African Unity. And so Ghana became very, very closely identified with the whole Pan-African objective. And it continues to be the case up till today. We believe that it makes sense for us to centralize our efforts, to come together. It makes sense for us, small nations, big nations like Nigeria, that we can have a better division of labor amongst ourselves and be able to leverage our strengths as well as take care of our weaknesses within a larger unit and an integrated unit. So yes, it is a very important I said so earlier on in my introductory remarks that it's a very important feature of Ghanaian public policy, the Pan-African objectives.
Many of us in the future are looking to start our own businesses, and we'll be leading businesses as we go forward. Just what are your words of advice for us as we enter into our business careers?
I think that the most important that I can think from my own time when I was like you is to enjoy the experience of Harvard. It will not be repeated. And enjoy it, meaning the relations between you that you're building up there, the facilities are at your disposal for learning and for digging into the stock of human knowledge that have been acquired over the centuries, taking maximum advantage of it, and also enjoying your experiences as university students and undergraduates, graduates. The place is very cold. I was there once in winter, Cambridge. But beyond that, I think there are lots of facilities out there which will help, because the all-rounded person, the person with a multifaceted approach to life, I think is the person who has the best chance of succeeding in life. And the foundation for it is where you are at the moment. So that would be my advice. Maximum benefit to be derived from where you are now and the advantages that you have. And your place is according to Professor Bella Osagi, the most famous and the most credible business school in the world, not just in America, but in the world. Is that my understanding? And those of us who have Oxford connections, we have nothing to say about this. Anyway, once again, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your stay.